All right, with all the holes and hardware cleaned up, I'm now going to start working on the top. So what I'm going to do is get some sealant compound and apply it to the gasket that sits inside of there. Now I don't know if you're supposed to do this or not, but I always do just for safe measures. You don't need very much, just a nice thin little coating. So just brush some on there, wipe it around a little bit. And it's pretty much all you need to do for that. Now that hole and this hole right there, where the water pickup is from, so it's going to line that inside like so. Now on my gloves, I still have some of the sealant compound. I'm going to rub it on the base inside of here, so should this ever need to come back off, it shouldn't give us any troubles. Just kind of a anti-seize or anti-stick, if you will. Now, I'm going to slide this into the spot, making sure the gasket's aligning with the holes in this. You can also put a screw down inside of there, get everything nice and aligned. And that's sitting where it needs to be. Now what I'm going to do is wipe off the junk off my gloves. Going to get some gear oil. I just pour some into a little bucket here. Let me show you. And all I do is stick my hand in there, or if I want to grease an entire part, I dump it in there. So, it doesn't need very much. You just want to lube it up before you slide it in. So rub it on there. And drop the drive shaft through the seal and into where it needs to go. If you notice that twisted, I'm going to have a lot of that happening here. Let's wipe the oil off my gloves. Now, there's something I like to do that the service manual doesn't call out for. Now, if you don't do this, there's a very good chance the water pump won't actually pump. So what I'm going to do is get some black silicone and put a thin layer across the top of this and on the top of the water pump plate, just to make sure it all nice and seals okay. Now, this needs very, very little. Then just kind of spread it around there. Put a little more on there in some of my spots. Now there's a little notch there, a little notch there, so this is going to go on like so. Now I'm going to put some on the water pump face here. And just kind of spread it around also. And we'll set this off to the side. When we put the water pump and the impeller housing on, you need to twist the drive shaft. When you do that, all of your alignment here may kind of go out of whack. So what I like to do is put a screw in through the bottom. And what that'll do is hold everything in one spot. So now what I need to do is rotate the drive shaft, but the problem with that is the drive shaft is tapered. If it goes in too far, you won't be able to spin it by hand. So what I'm going to do, back the drive shaft out a little bit and put a socket on the bottom side of there. That'll keep the drive shaft from seating too far and still give me the chance to spin the drive shaft as I need to. See, rotates just fine. So I'm going to put my pin back inside of the hole. To get my new impeller. Install it down on top of the drive shaft on that little keyway or pin. And there we go. Now we got to get some triple guard grease or any grease. Yeah, oil would probably do it. Just give it a very thin light coating on the inside of the impeller. That'll make sure no fins or ribs or anything get damaged as we're putting it on. And that's all it needs. I'll wipe the grease off my glove. Water pickup tube goes on this side. Go install it like so. We're going to rotate the drive shaft clockwise while pushing this down. If you can also just rotate this guy. And our water pump is installed. I'm going to put some anti-seize on the base of the screws here. So, should it ever need to come out, it won't be an issue. I already have a screw in this hole holding everything together, so I'm going to do that one last. But if you can notice how easy those go in now that all the holes are tapped. It's one of the reasons I really like tapping everything. It takes a little while, granted, but it's a pretty good idea to do it. As you can see, they all just go straight down. And I've put anti-seize on every screw. Let's tighten them all down. You don't want to go across, you want to kind of bolt it on as if it were a car tire. Make sure it all gets nice and evenly distributed here. Alright, so our water pump's on. Now we're going to install all the gear. Get to the outside of the steel before you push it into the bearing cup here. So you can look at the seal the way you took it out and identify how it needs to go back in. But basically that little cone shape, propeller shaft is going to go through there. So we're going to be installing this that way. So just dab a little bit on the ends. Rub this lovely stuff all over the sides. And it's ready to install. So you're going to get your seal installer tool, which in this case is the socket. Get it started a little bit, position your seal installer, and take it home. And the seal is installed. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the plate. Seals go in the same way. Another way to tell is this little indent that goes down, so it's going to go inside like that. And that's installed. So they recommend using an arbor press for this. I don't have one. I'd get one, but kind of on the poor side, so that's not going to happen. One of the nice things about using a press to do this is the seal will go on straight, which is kind of the key. But if you look, it's installed straight, socket works. It's just if you do cock it sideways, you're going to run into problems. Last thing you want to do is break this $100 plate. Now I'm going to install this back on the propeller shaft and on installed. What I forgot to do was put the O-ring back inside of there. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I need some more of the gasket sealing compound on the ring. Don't necessarily need to, but hopefully that'll help extend its life a little bit. Let's get a rag and wipe off all the excess. Now we need some Evinrude Sealing Compound M. Now, we're not going to use M because it's expensive and I don't have any. We're going to use Permatex number 2 instead. I've used gasket sealant M, I've used Permatex, I've just put gasket sealing compound down there. Never had any problems using anything. I don't think you're actually going to need to go out and spend the money for the sealant M. You can pretty much just use what you have, and like I said, I've never run into any issues. The Permatex number 2 is pretty expensive stuff, but probably because it's worth it. Alright, so we got some Permatex number 2 applied there. Now we're going to put in our gear set. So there's a pin right here, which needs to align with the slot in the gear. Right there. So what I'm going to do is get a Sharpie and mark the opposite side so I know exactly where that slot is and needs to go. For the housing in the back, that one's actually a lot easier. If you have a look here, you can see these two little slots. If those are parallel with your housing here, it'll go right in. But the reason you have to do that is this guy needs to align down inside of here. Let's get the cradle shifter rotated out of the way. Rotate this in, down, and around. Line our little dot up on the top. Ignore this one. And make sure the back is parallel. And right there should be a fit. So we can grab our the lower half of this thing, put it on for a test fit, make sure everything's okay. If this